Hi, and welcome to Northwest Brew Talk. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
And this is episode number 10. It's also our April Fool's episode. And what we're going to do is we're going to debut a new segment today. What we're going to do is the first episode of each month, we're going to throw one extra beer in there. And what we're going to do, instead of drinking 2 beers, we're going to drink 3 beers. And the third beer is going to be from another Northwest state. And tonight happens to be from Oregon. On today's show, we're going to have an interview with Jim Jamison from Foggy Noggin Brewing. We're going to have our brew news and views and local music from Charlatan.
And don't forget, if you have any comments or questions, you can always send us an email at nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. So let's start the show off by trying our first beer.
Yes, and this is a German-style rye ale from Reuben's Brews. It's called Roggenbier.
So Reuben's Brews opened in August of 2012. They're family-owned and operated, located in Ballard in Seattle. Their tap room's open Thursday through Sunday, and you're welcome to come down and try their beer or grab a growler to drink at home.
Are you inviting people down?
I'm inviting people down.
Okay, this is a darker colored beer. Tell us a little about it.
Reuben's Brew describes their Roggenbier as a rye Hefeweizen. Aroma of rye, banana, and clove make its way to a medium body with a rye spice finish. They have won a couple awards for this beer, including the 2014 U.S. Open. They had got a gold there. And 2012 World Beer Championships. They got a silver.
Nice. This is 5.3% ABV. And this has a nice taste to it.
Yeah, you're a pretty big clove fan, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Interesting. I do like it, though.
Good.
I don't know. It has it can taste a little bit going down. It's good, though. Now, onto our news, brews, news, and views.
There's a study being done by 3 professors at the Graduate School of Business at Stanford University that found only 4% of American breweries have female head brewmaster. March 8th was International Women's Collaboration Brew Day, a story we missed covering the first time around. Breweries around the world all brewed the same beer, Unite Red Ale. In Washington, 6 breweries brewed this beer. At Pike, Meg Bragg, brewer from Pike, Janet Spindler, co-owner and brewer at Spinnaker Bay Brewing, and Alexandria Kane, assistant brewer at North Sound Brewing, and others brewed this special beer. The beer, brewed to support education of women in the brewing industry, is being released on April 10th at Spinnaker Bay Brewing. Also, Spinnaker will be celebrating their 2nd anniversary with a bash on April 25th, starting with a private founders party, followed by a public party, where they will release 2 barrel-aged beers.
All right, a new 3,900 square foot brewery and taproom are scheduled to open in April in the center of Vancouver, Washington. Fortside Brewing Company is the brainchild of Michael DeFabio and Mark Doleski. Named after Fort Vancouver, the brewers won't specialize in any particular beer style, but, according to DeFabio, they, quote, aim to brew a variety of beers with great aroma and flavor, unquote. Both were home brewers before, quote, passion that led in this direction, unquote. They want to improve the beer climate on the Washington side of the Columbia River. After opening, they plan on distributing to restaurants and bars throughout Clark County. According to their website, they plan on producing beers people enjoy tasting, smelling, and experiencing, made with local ingredients that express a local style.
The Washington Brewers Guild held their Cask Beer Festival this past Saturday. There were 2 sessions, and the public chose their favorite beers. The first session, People's Choice winner, was the First Nail and Maraschino Cherries by Fremont Brewery. There was a tie for second place, Cabaret Stout by American Brewing Company and Cheeky Monkey Imperial Brown by North Sound Brewing. The second session People's Choice winner was Apple Cinnamon ESB by Diamond Knot Brewing. Cheeky Monkey Imperial Brown took second place again, and the Black Raven Brewing took third place for their Alaskan Session IPA. We at Northwest Brew would like to congratulate all the winners.
The Everett Herald reported last Monday that Scuttlebutt Brewing in downtown Everett is eyeing a large expansion. A long-time building tenant has allowed the brewery to gain an additional 1,600 square feet. Head brewer Matt Stromberg said the brewery has, quote, been very disciplined with our growth. We don't want to grow too fast, unquote. The new space will allow the brewery to add 10 new 60-barrel fermenters and increase production from 7,000 barrels in 2014 to 24,000 barrels per year. Owner Phil Bannon Sr. said the production will help Scuttlebutt increase market penetration locally and beyond. They are already in 18 states and over 5 countries. They don't expect the expansion to be complete until August, so they'll have to wait to ship more porter to Florida until after then.
Also, another brewery has been sold. Oscar Blues of Colorado purchased Perrin Brewing Company of Michigan. Perrin brewed nearly 14,000 barrels in 2014. And this Friday and Saturday is the Hopscotch Festival at Fremont Studios. And a couple weekends away, April 17th and 18th, is the Leavenworth Ale Fest.
And that's it for the news this week.
Welcome back to Northwest Brew Talk. If you have not yet subscribed to our podcast, what are you waiting for? Do it now. It's free, available on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and other sites. And if you like us, a review and rating would be really appreciated. But even more important, tell your friends about Northwest Brew Talk via social media or whatever way you want.
Now let's talk to Jim Jamison from Foggy Noggin Brewing, who just celebrated their 5th anniversary in March.
Okay, so next Saturday, March 21st, is our 5th anniversary. We do English ales. We import all of our malted barley from England. They're all floor malted. Floor malting gives it a plumper, more flavorful profile, and that's really what the English use. So to be authentic English, that's what we do. It's a little premium, but I think you get the flavor quality. We use English hops too. Most of them are grown in England, but there are some that they do a very good job of, and you can hardly tell the difference that are grown in the Yakima, but most are English grown. Our yeast we have 4 different yeasts that we play with. Our main one is the Fuller's yeast, and that's what you have in that beer. We modify our water to meet a region of the UK, so London waters are one we use the most. But we use Burton-on-Trent, we use some Dublin, we use some Glasgow when we're doing different beers.
To adjust your waters based on theirs?
Yep. Water's pretty neutral here. We strip it with a carbon filter to get the chlorine out, and then we modify it from there. The first 2 beers we started with was the English Bitter, Bit of Beaver. Very sessionable, 3.4%. You know, it's got great flavor. It's a beer you can drink all night and still function. Mm-hmm. It's a great session beer. You know, in England, a session is because they would close. They open the pubs up and they close down, and everybody goes home and eats dinner, and they come back for another session. And a session beer is one you could drink the entire length of that session they're open. So that's the kinds of beers. Those beers that are in the mid-3s are perfect for doing that. The other beer that's year-round is our Christmas Duck, which is a porter. So those ones we started with. We do half-barrel batch brewing, so very small. We do between our capacity. We have 7 fermenters, so we could do 7 batches a week if that's what we're doing. Some beers take longer for us to ferment out, but so everything's small batch. And we do rotate a lot of seasonals, and we have a rotation on using our yeast. So we repitch on the same yeast. We do 12 pitches, and then we dump it, and we start a new yeast culture. The Fuller's yeast is the one we use the most. We use the Whitbread yeast for our Burton program. And that's all those beers are Burtonized water, and so we do a mild, we do an ESB, and then we do a Burton ale on that. We also have the Samuel Smith's Yorkshire yeast that we use, and we do that in barrel fermenting in an oak barrel. So it's a perpetual yeast strain that stays in that barrel, and Every batch is a little bit different, so they're all bottled. They're the black and white labels over there, and each one's got the batch number on it, and they're uniquely different each one because the yeast has taken on a little bit different character, and the barrel through time is changing too.
Sure.
There's a brand new barrel that we use, so obviously the first couple batches were very oaky, a lot of oak presence, and it's taken on its own character. We're only open Saturdays, 5 hours a week, and we sell about 80% of our beer here in those 5 hours, and then the rest of it, we send out an email every Sunday night to our 20 tap accounts. First come, first serve. This is what we got, and it's all gone usually Monday morning. So
nice.
Vertical tasting of our 5 years of anniversary ale.
Right.
We sold tickets, and those are really popular. They sell out pretty quick. People really enjoy and it's a English old ale, so it's 6.8%. It's got enough alcohol, and it's a malt forward beer, so it ages really, really nice. So the 11, is probably near the end of its life because it's broken down so much. It's really, really sweet. All the sugars are breaking down, but it's like a dessert beer now. But it's a fun thing to do, to try them all side by side like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, what got you into brewing?
I used to have a beer publication called Northwest Brew News.
Okay.
Back in the late '80s, early '90s, and I used to like to write about beer, and my wife gave me that beer kit that's up on the top of the cooler there in '92.
Yeah.
And I never really wanted to, because there were so many good beers out there.
Yeah.
I wasn't really interested in brewing. And I started playing with it, and what I realized is I could make beers that I can't buy fresh.
Oh.
And that was the whole thing about the English beers, because you really can't get fresh English beers here. No one's really at that time, nobody was doing real authentic English ales. So that's why we focus on that. And as I got into it, I made a lot of bad beer before I started making good beer.
Yeah. I think that's how it goes. Let's see. So about how many barrels do you do per year then?
Last year we did 130.
Okay.
So in last month we hit our 1,000th brewing in a little bit less than 5 years. So that's, you can kind of get an idea how much time we spend brewing.
Yeah. So what was the first beer you brewed with your homebrew kit?
It was a box set of some sort, and it was whatever, all the ingredients were in there, and you just made it. And it was probably like a amber ale or something, and it tasted very vegetable-like. I remember saying, wow. But you made it, so you drink it all.
Right. Right.
You try to convince yourself that it's better than it really is.
So you bottling these for sale today then?
Yeah. Well, this is the last keg of this beer, so I'm emptying this keg with all growlers because we're putting on a rare beer on this tap today.
Right.
It's
okay.
It's an English strong ale that's been aged in a Woodinville whiskey barrel was 3 months, and then that keg has been aged for a year.
Oh, okay.
So all month for our anniversary, we've been kind of doing a special beer each week. I know you listed off some of the beers you do. Do you do any specialty ones other than your anniversary ones? We do a lot. So, like on today, we'll have our duck and our beaver, our mainstays. We'll also have we have Butcher's Brew, which is a English nut brown. We hand roast the hazelnuts. We put it into the mash. It gives you a nice, rich, nutty flavor to it. Then we also have on Cranberry Frost, which was a winter beer that we do. We add dried cranberries into the boil, and so it's not a sweet beer at all. We won Best Fruit Beer in Northwest Brewing News. I think this is the keg. So we won Best Fruit Beer, and then we won People's Choice Award at the Winter Beer Fest this year, too.
Okay, nice.
So that's a kind of neat thing. Then we also have on today Morning Wood, which is an oak-aged special bitter.
Morning Wood, nice name.
And then we have Diablo del Sol, which is our English Pale Ale. That won Best Pale Ale in Northwest Brewing News. So that's people now have discovered that they call it hop bursting, where they're putting a lot of late edition hops. Most of what the English have brewed forever.
Oh.
It's like they act like they just discovered it.
Right.
So we put in, on a half barrel, we're putting a pound of hops in at 5 minutes left in the boil. It gives you a nice hop flavor, but it's not bitter at all.
Right.
And you get that huge hop presence without a bitterness.
Nice.
And it's just a really popular beer. And we also have our triple IPA, English IPA, Big Rufus. And then we always have 2 beers on nitro. And today we've got the Duck and the Beaver. And that's plus that Imperial English Strong Ale that was aged with the whiskey barrels. That's the lineup today. The only beer that we do that is non-English is a German alt. I brew that 1 day a year. We actually brew it on Martin Luther King Day.
Oh, yeah.
My regular job, that's when I started working there, been there 12 years. And in the first year I was there, they go, we have that day off. And I go, what? Never had that day off. And so what am I going to do? All my friends work, so I go, I'm going to brew beer. I'm going to brew beer I've never done before. So I really love the German alt style. And so we brew that only on that day, and then we lager it until April 1st. And then we, it's fantastic beer. I think it's Germans brewing like they're English.
So, what about the name?
Foggy Noggin?
Yeah.
Well, if you ever had too many beers, that way you feel like the next morning. The little Foggy Noggin.
It is good.
We've called our house the Foggy Noggin for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to put on a golf tournament with a buddy, and it was a single malt classic. So Scotch, you drank different single malt scotches as you played the round. And we had an award ceremony here and dinner, and we figured the very first year, you can't call it, we're going to meet at Jim's house. We got to have a name for it. So after all the Scotch tasting, the perfect thing is Foggy Noggin. So we've called our house the Foggy Noggin for a long time.
Does your wife drink beer?
She does. It's a whole family affair. So I got 2 boys and a daughter and a wife. They're all participate in the brewery. My daughter brews now. So the first 2 years I brewed every batch myself. My oldest son brews on Saturdays. He's brewing right now. We'll take you out there and show it to you. And then my daughter brews on Fridays, and I brew on Sundays now.
Nice.
And all the other stuff you got to do, cleaning kegs and delivering and paper, a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
Lots of paperwork.
So do you have a goal to grow this larger, or is this going to stay like this is the size you want to stay?
For 2 years we've had a growth plan. We're looking for the right location.
Uh-huh.
So it's going to meet what we want to do.
In Bothell?
In Bothell.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen. We have a location that we're kind of working with the city on. We have to get some zoning changes. It's an existing building. If it all works out, it'll be perfect.
Nice.
But if things go well, we could start moving forward some later, mid-time this year with plans on it. But you know how that goes. You're dealing with bureaucracy. You never know what's going to happen.
Right. Now, do you...
We'll we'll keep this.
Keep this, yeah.
We'll never get rid of this because this is pretty unique. When people come in here, people from all over the world come just because they've heard about this. This is in a guy's garage, in a very wooded, secluded area, and they think it's the coolest thing. And then they tell her, so we get a fair amount of, this is a destination. You have to know you're coming here.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, you didn't know you were coming here. You didn't know if you were in the right spot.
Exactly. I'm like, this is the address. Everywhere I look, this is the address. It has to, how come we're not in the right place? Because there's no sign, so I wasn't quite sure. But
so we have a lot of fun with it. And,
yeah.
It's a good beer.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So, what do you think makes your beer stand out from the others?
Well, locally, because it's just different.
Right.
Being that it's... let me get you another beer, too. think this is my favorite beer to drink right now. Is the last keg of it until I brew some more. This is Morning Wood. That's the oak aged special bitter. I really, really love that beer. We aged it on French oak cubes.
Okay.
And you get just a little bit of that oaky character coming through on it. It's very subtle. Everything we do is got to be well balanced, and we're not one dimensional. That's what a lot of the West Coast style of beer making is, very one dimensional. It's all about one ingredient, extreme, and sometimes you feel like it. And a lot of people, obviously, it's very popular because people sell a lot of it. But for us, it's all about balance. So even I'll let you try a little of that barrel aged strong ale, because even we make sure that nothing's overpowering, so it's a one-dimensional beer.
Okay.
You should not, I term our beers as not one and dones. 1 pint and you don't really want another one. Whether you want 2 pints or not, you should want to have another one. And to me, there's something wrong with that beer if you don't want another pint of it. So as we develop a beer, if it's not a beer you really feel like you want a second one, you got to tweak that.
So if the flavor is good enough that you'd want a second one, even if you don't have it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Some characters of that is how it finishes.
Right.
I don't like beers that finish sweet. Sweet doesn't make you want to drink more.
Right.
Sweet, it's cloying and it kind of satisfies your taste buds so you're done. And so making sure they finish dry enough that it makes your palate thirsty for another taste. We try to we have a lot of regulars that will bring our branded growlers back.
Right.
And so we always have a supply of several of each one that's on tap, so they don't have to wait around if they just want to.
Oh, okay. Well, that's nice. They can just swap them.
Yep. Back then, we're making Burton ales, and they were very, very hoppy. They were they were higher in alcohol. So for English, anything over 6% is pretty high for English. We make ours at 6.6. We put blackstrap molasses and unrefined brown sugar in it. It's pretty hoppy, and it uses a hop. The hop is pretty critical in there. That its target is kind of like here, the Simcoe or Amarillo, Citra, those boutiques. One family's been growing that for in England, and they control it, and it's very, very unique. And we use it in our triple IPA too. It's so unique, and I have brewers who taste our beers and they go, I love that. I've never tasted anything like that. And they don't even know what target hops are because they're not into the English stuff.
Right.
But so bringing that one back, we do that a lot. That's a beer that we brew a lot of. Our house ale, I use the Samuel Smith's Yorkshire yeast. I collaborated with Sam Smith III for a couple of years before I started, and I had a barrel made to my specs, and so we're fermenting in an oak barrel using his yeast. Now he uses his yeast in Yorkshire squares, which is granite squares. The same kind of idea that it gets into the porous cavities of your fermentation space, and so that yeast is always touching the beer in more places. It's kind of a unique thing. So we do that, and I read a lot about it and try to do some things that they were doing historically. We had a beer historian from England here in November, and we did a historical beer tasting. Recipes that he dug up in the archives from 1820 was the oldest one to 1950, and I brewed all the beers up, and we invited people, and he stood right here and he spoke for 2.5 hours, and we tasted all the beers together. It was just a fantastic night, and people kind of understand the history of where beer came from, where it went. We've got a mild ale, which today, our mild that we do is 3.5%, and that's what they are in England now. But we tasted a mild that I brewed that was almost 8%, and that's what they were back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And then wars and taxation and tough time getting ingredients, so they wouldn't let you make alcohol very high, and all those different reasons. So it's interesting to taste how they would have been and what they are.
So were the beers good?
They were fantastic,
all
of them. I mean, we even tasted a 2.8% mild is what I made. And we did 4 styles, and we did 2 distinctively different beers in that style from different times in history and tasted them. The 2.8%, they're out of my comfort zone because the ingredient profiles and what you use and how much of different things wasn't what I normally do. Mm-hmm. And it opened my eyes up saying, hey, some of these things do make sense and how they work. And the 2.8 had a great mouthfeel. It was very satisfying. It was a great tasting beer. I actually liked it better than the higher alcohol version that was older.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I feel like, that we're bringing back, we're kind of educating people on things too. But don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of the other local beers around here.
Right. Well,
we even have a lot of, regular local customers that come in and that they're IPA drinkers. They love the really hoppy beers, but they go, once in a while you got to get a break to your palate. And so they come here to wash their palate out and neutralize it again, and then they come every couple of weeks or so. And
yeah, definitely.
So what do you think that? Did you finish that one?
Yeah, just about done. That's it's good. It's different.
I think you're gonna find all of our beers just a little bit different than what you're normally used to.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully you like it too.
No, they're good. They're
different. People come in here and they go, I'm really nervous because I don't think I've ever had an English beer. And I said, well, you know what? My goal is that you walk out of here there's one that you like. I don't expect you to like them all, but if you can find one you like, then we win. So let's see what I'll give you a little taste of. I won't give you anything really hoppy big yet until we get further on. This is our nut brown. So there's roasted hazelnuts in there. It's got a great aroma to it, of the nuttiness to it.
Oh, yeah.
Smells very nutty. I like the play with the letters too.
The letters?
Yeah, I'm sure that's common.
Well, originally we started off as an element, fitting into the periodic table, and we even have a shirt that plays to that. This one over here, got the periodic table. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got hydrogen, oxygen, water, beer.
Yeah. What kind of beers did you like before you started brewing?
I like all kinds of beers. So, I grew up in Portland, and there was a place called Produce Row Cafe, and they had every beer in bottles that the state allowed them to bring in. So they had I think 1,200 beers. They had a beer menu, and in about 4 years, I tried every single one of them. And and it was arranged by country. So there's many I like. There's many I didn't like. But it was interesting to try them all, and you opened your horizon to what was available. So, I really like. I'd say that my preference is European styles. I really like German. I like really, really crisp pilsners from Germany. I really like the Czech style beers. I like the Scottish, the Irish, the English. That region is probably my favorite. Mm-hmm. But I did appreciate at that. It's funny, but your taste buds change over time too. I always remember I really liked some of the South Pacific lagers that were made, from the Philippines, San Miguel, which I thought was a great beer back then. And I liked Red Stripe Lager from Jamaica back then. You taste them now, they're not what you want to drink. Mm-hmm. You just change your profile. I've never been I'm still not a fan of Belgians and sours. It doesn't hit me in my comfort zone.
Right.
But I tend to be more malt forward, interested than hoppy forward. But there's days where I love to drink, the hoppy IPAs with just like everybody else.
Yeah. But you're trying to brew something that's not everybody else is doing.
That's right.
So even though you're doing an IPA, it's not the same as everybody else's either.
It isn't, and that's a 10.3% IPA. Okay. So we do. So during the Seahawks season, we did an IPA that we put Skittles in. I don't know if you ever heard about that. It was called. We got a cease and desist letter because we were going to call it 12th Man Skittles IPA, and Texas A&M sent us a cease and desist, so we call it cease and desist IPA. But we put 2.5 pounds of Skittles in each batch, and it's got a little sweet aroma to it. It starts sweet, but a nice firm bitterness. Our summer seasonal is our English IPA. It's 6.3%. A lot of rye in it, and all English hops too. Way different, much more malty than what people think of. Because we do like the malt flavor to balance it out and keep it not one-dimensional.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, you definitely want to do things different. Everything's a little different from being in the garage to the kind of beer.
That's our Diablo, the English Pale Ale.
I like that smell.
So it's a lot of hops in it, but it's not very bitter. It's got that hoppy flavor, hoppy aroma. There is enough bitterness to make it interesting, but you still get that malt bill.
That's good.
And that's 5.2%, so it's still in that, it's on the upper end of what English are brewing today, but it's, people call those session beers. I don't call those session beers. I think real session beer should be, 4%, maybe 4.5% and less.
So you can drink more than one.
Yeah. Well, in this day and world, the last thing you want to do is get pulled over after you had one too many beers.
Oh, exactly.
Ruin your whole life. I mean.
Oh, really?
Ruin your life as a brewer too. You can't own a brewery if you have a DUI.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They don't want people that have drank too much.
Here we're pretty lucky that when we open at noon, we close at 5. We're usually people's first beers of the day. We don't get intoxicated people walking in. We don't want to cause problems, but I think that when people leave here, most of our beers are low enough that they could go to another place and have a couple more beers. Hopefully, the other people are paying attention.
After they go home and eat, and then go home for the second session.
Or they take beer home so they can finish that at home. That's a pretty popular beer. So this one we just got released a couple weeks ago. We go through quite a bit of this one each week.
Yeah, it's good.
This is our quarter Christmas Duck. So that beer, an interesting thing. I mean, I am very picky on porters, and most porters I think end up too sweet. And I think this finishes enough dryness to it. So the head brewer for Deschutes that is in charge of the Black Butte program was in here, and I didn't know who he was until he was all done. He goes, "Hey, I just want you to know who I am," and he goes, "I loved your place," and he goes, "This is the first porter I could say I actually like better than one I make." And I go, "Which one do you make?" And he told me. I go, "Really?" So this is the brewery. So 200 square feet. We got 6 stainless steel conical fermenters. This is our oak fermenter. Half barrel batches. So he's cleaning out the boil kettle. He's in the middle of a triple batch brew day. So that was batch 1. You're done. So he's going to be moving out of the mash tun the second one. So we always have, when we're doing multiple batches, your efficiency is as soon as you can get that mash tun freed up, you mash in your next batch. So he's doing the Diablo, the English Pale. He's doing 2 batches of that today.
Nice.
Self-contained here, so we hot liquor tank, mash tun, brew kettle, counterflow wort chiller. We pitch it into the fermenters at 65 degrees. We keep this at 68 year round, so that's our, being that we're only half barrels ambient temperature, you can control it to that smaller volume. After these, it goes into, we don't have room for bright tanks, so we use corny kegs and put them in that cooler at 32 degrees. We don't filter, we just let the cold drop everything out, and then we keg it in fourth carbonate. Again, we can't store too much grain, so we have about 6 weeks supply on hand, then we have to go pick up the next. All propane heated. So we got a heater to heat, we got an air conditioner to cool.
You have water run out here, obviously.
We have a hot water tank, and we have water. Pretty efficient. I mean, you don't have to go very far to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, now I'd like to thank Jim for that great interview and tour of his brewing facility. It was crazy trying to find his place. We pulled up. We thought we were at the wrong place. We left. We called him up, and he's like, "Were you just in my driveway?" Turned out that it was his place. His house is set back behind some trees, and that's where his brewery is, inside of his garage.
But when they're open, you don't have to worry because they have the sign out on the out on the street there.
Yeah, we did not see the sign because we were there before they opened, and we were totally lost. All right, so let's open another beer. Now, this is our middle beer we're doing this week, and this is... what is this? This is the Worthy IPA from Worthy Brewing of Bend, Oregon. It is a 6.9% ABV.
So Worthy Brewing, apparently I can't speak tonight, started their production brewery with the capacity to brew 60,000 barrels from the get-go. With about 22,000 square feet of floor space and an average ceiling height of 35 feet, they've got plenty of room to grow still. They have a goal to brew 2 to 3 unique beers a month.
Wow, that's a pretty ambitious goal. I mean, 60,000 barrels to begin with. They went all in.
Absolutely.
Yep, this is definitely IPA, big head on it, and a lot of citrus, typical IPA, but it's good.
So Worthy describes their IPA as clean, crisp, and refreshing. A tribute to their friends at Indie Hops, this amazingly balanced beer is bursting with the finest hops Oregon has to offer. Nugget, Centennial, Meridian, Crystal, and Horizon. Renowned for his IPAs, Chad, the brewmaster, just raised the bar.
He raised the bar at the bar. All right, and we'll be right back after a music break from Seattle band Charlatan.
That was Too Much of a Good Thing by Charlatan. You can check them out at charlatansounds.bandcamp.com.
And we at Northwest Beer are on the hunt for the best pizza and beer combination in the area. We are still looking for recommendations from you. We found another one that is going on our list. We're down in Everett, and we stopped at Brooklyn Brothers Pizza. That place was good. Reminded me of New York City. They were playing old Italian songs, pictures of New York City on the walls. They had great New York style pizza. It's not the same as pizza from where I'm from in New York, but New York style was really good.
Yeah.
And they had cannoli. And the cannolis were good.
Yes, they were.
So, if you've got a place that... and they also had, I think it was Snoqualmie root beer on tap, and that was very good, too.
Very good.
So, definitely a place to check out if you're in that area. So, we're going to try another beer here. This time we have a Rise and Grind from No-Li. It's a 6.1% ABV.
So No-Li has quite the history, but I tried to condense it down a bit. Opened in 93, Mark Reuben started No-Li as Northern Lights Brewing Company in Spokane, Washington. He states that he could have gone to Seattle to brew, but he wanted to stay in his hometown. Mark started out producing primarily draft beer and self-distributed kegs to restaurants and bars in the Spokane area and continued this for about 8 years. Then in 2002, they moved to their current location at the Spokane River and started operating the pub and brewery. Their philosophy is that their beer be globally inspired and locally sourced. You may be wondering about the name change from Northern Lights Brewing Company to No-Li. There's a company on the East Coast that decided they did not want Mark using the same brewery name and decided to give them the cold shoulder after Mark and his brew partner, John Bryant, who joined them in 2012, sent multiple letters and called them multiple times. Instead of wasting time trying to work things out with a company that obviously had no interest in even discussing matters, they chose to take the higher road and change their name to No-Li.
This is definitely coffee flavored. This is an ale brewed with coffee. Only 22 IBUs. So not bitter at all. And yes, definitely ale. I mean, it's definitely a coffee-flavored beer.
Well, No-Li describes their Rise and Grind as a wake-up call, a brewer's breakfast. This smooth and luscious ale imparts flavors of coffee, chocolate, and toasted grain. Layers of freshly roasted gemelli coffee gives the beer an extra twist, brewed for those of us who roll up our sleeves and grind out the day.
It is very smooth and very coffee-like. Dark beer, and I'm sure if you like that type of beer, you would like this. It is very smooth. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Northwest Brew Talk.
Make sure that you tune in next week when we chat with English Setter Brewing.
This show is produced and edited by me, with engineering help from Michelle Rizzo.
And if you want to contact us, we are on Twitter at NW Brew Talk and on Facebook at facebook.com/NW Brew Talk. You can also email us at nwbrewtalk@gmail.com or give us a call at 541-595-TALK. That's 541-595-8255.
Until next time, I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
Stay hopping, my friends.